Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. And it's great to see people start to join the show and join the chat. I'll let a few more people say hi in the chat before we tell everybody hello. But I first want to say is welcome to daylight savings time, everybody. I know everybody just enjoys just moving those clocks forward on daylight savings time. I know I went through the house last night before I went to bed and just was moving all those clocks and making sure everything was in line this morning before I got up, which was successful. Hopefully, before long, we will stop the daylight savings backward and forward stuff. We'll just stay on standard time and call it a day. That's what my hopes are one day, and that's what I hope we're going to do. Well, we've got some people that have joined us right now. Let's go ahead and say hello to everybody who's joined us so far. If you've not said hello, hey, say hello in the chat so we can mention you and say howdy to you also. So, good evening, William Campbell. Thanks for joining us tonight. Good evening, Clayton Orwick. Good evening, Charlotte Gellert. Good evening, my good friend and colleague, Justin Kinney. Good evening, CJ Lester. Good evening, Vuka Russo. Good evening, Tom Harrison. An unpopular opinion, but I am a full-time standard timer. Justin, you and I are both full-time standard timers. We have that in common. I do. I would just like to keep it. Don't be moving them up, back, forward, sideways. Let's just keep them things one way. Quit messing with them clocks. That's where I am. Valerie Clayton, good. Sand Sky, good evening. Sand Sky and Valerie Creighton. Great to have you. Cheryl Moulton, great to have you on the show tonight also. We got that audience building tonight. It's a great thing to have people. Yellow JK. Hello, Yellow JK. So we've got a bunch of people joining us tonight, saying hello in the chat. It's always exciting to have our fellow Rockdale Countyans join us on Speak Your Mind. It's great to have you guys' opinion as we did last week, and that's what I like to do. Really want to get your guys' interaction on some things, to broaden the conversation that we have. One of the things I want to start out with talking about tonight is the Board of Commission's upcoming vote and discussion on a moratorium. So I think the board is going to move on a moratorium. Charlotte, you can answer in the chat if you're there. I think, is that something that's on this week's agenda coming up for the Board of Commission that they're going to do? And if I didn't say hello to my good friend Tom Harrison, good day, Tom, and great to see you on the show tonight. And if you've got something you'd like to throw in there or interject, Tom, that would be great to have something from you. Tom always has good insight and good things that he likes to bring up and talk about and stuff. And then Bill Campbell talked to me about something this week I'm going to talk about a little bit later on too. It's parks. So we're going to do a little bit of conversating about parks in a little bit. But I would like to talk about what you guys think about the upcoming moratorium decision. Charlotte says yes for 180 days, and that's what I saw that too, for 180 days. Ben and Cheryl Garcia, thanks for joining us tonight on the show, Ben and Cheryl. And if you guys didn't see, I've got one of my dog Hawaiian shirts on, and I've got this is Molly Cox right here, and this is the infamous Tucker Cox right here, candidate at large. Candidate Tucker will throw his name in the hat sometimes and run against people who are unopposed to make sure that they have got to do a little campaign, because Tucker has proven himself to be quite a little vote getter over the last couple of years when he's ran for write-in candidacies. He takes no prisoners, plays no games, and he's an aggressive little campaigner out there. So that's that's what we got going on. So that is very, very good for us. I'm responding to a text here. That's what we got going on. So yeah, uh, uh, Justin unopposed. What's the date of? Vuko wants to know the update on my wife. My wife is doing great. She had a few little um, issues right after the procedure. We worked all that out the first couple of days, but she's been home for over a week now, right at a week from yesterday, and she's doing really well. So we're really excited about her and her prognosis. Everything looks really good. Daniel Munoz, welcome to the show. Danielle, nice to have you on the show from way up north. Corliss Turner, good evening, Corliss. Thanks for joining the show. So yeah, that moratorium, I'm all in favor of the moratorium. I really think we need to just put a pause on all the building and just wait and see what's going on, right? So Tom wants to talk about. Let me put Tom's comment up here. I think we need to read this. The best thing I can add tonight is to make people aware that Thursday night the Planning Commission will be hearing and vote to split the Planning Commission back into what it was in the 70s, where the county had their commission and the city had theirs. So we will be doing that this week, voting on to make two different planning commissions. And that is going to be very interesting to have two different commissions, one for the city and one for the county. And I think we can go by maybe that we have two entities that see themselves going in two different directions. And that's very interesting. I think we need to look at, Tom, I think, I like having the joint commission, but if you've got these entities wanting to split because they have a different philosophy, Tom, would you mind, if you don't want to interject, I understand, what do you think the reasoning? I've voiced my opinion before. My opinion is I believe that the city and the county have two different outlooks on uh, building and zoning and planning for the future. And I think the city wants to separate from the county because they see the county maybe wanting to slow down and stop a lot of the high density or not approve it. And I think the city is maybe full bore ahead, continuing with the liquor stores and vape shops and high density housing that we've had. That's what I see. I could be totally wrong. If somebody from the city wants to reach out and say that I'm wrong, then do so. But I got a feeling I'm not wrong. And what about you? Charlotte, what do you think? Right? And Corliss, you guys have been following the meetings too long at times. And I know you guys have been there to 1 o'clock in the morning before. I get that. But don't you think a lot of times these meetings have went so long is because there's been a lot of important things that needed to be discussed. And some of these issues that caused the meeting to go long were singular issues, right? So I don't think it would have mattered if it was combined or not. If that issue would have been before either split board, you were going to have a long meeting because that issue was going to take a long time to get through. So I really think it depends on the heat of the issues, how hot the topic is, as to how long the meeting goes. So that's an interesting, that how long the meetings are, or we limit the amount of topics. Most of the high density in the city right now, the city has ordinance to limit liquor stores now. Good evening. Sorry, I'm late. Mary Mooresworth. Yeah, most of that is high density in the city, and they do have ordinances to limit the liquor stores now. But this is the thing about it. I don't think either entity has an ordinance that they can't find their way around. And that's what I've noticed in the last few years, that both entities are willing to issue special use permits, or they're willing to issue workarounds for a lot of this stuff. Uh, so I mean, I find that's what we've had in the past, is we've had a lot of workarounds around ordinances. The upcoming issue has 9 city items, and the county has 10. Most for both are text amendments. So it's interesting to see what is it the length of the meetings, or is it a different direction? And that's what it's interesting. So and Charlotte, are you saying it's the exception that the meetings are too long? Tom, in your history of running this, do you think that it's most of the time when we have the hot topic issues that's what draws the meeting so long? Because if the meetings, nothing's objected, and you hear just a brief description of what's going on with one of the issues, I think it runs pretty fluid, and we don't really have long meetings. It's just when we have a hot topic item that really causes these meetings to go a long way. But that's the choice that each entity has decided to make. So Charlotte give you an excellent answer there, Alec. You said, "What's up, folks?" And Charlotte says, "The sky." So we got to appreciate that when you've got that kind of forward thinking from Miss Charlotte Gellert. What's up? And it's the sky. I hear you, Charlotte. Good analysis. So I look at the planning and zoning, and I look at the decisions that the Citizens Committee has made over the last few years, and just how often, when it's one of those hot button issues, that you're not listened to. And then that's interesting. Did you find that the Citizens Planning Committee is not listened to on all the time? It's interesting. I find it very interesting. And then when Bill Campbell brought up to me this week, he was just talking to me about some parks and stuff, and was talking about how much in the red a couple of the parks operate in Rockdale County. So that was a question I was going to ask you guys. We're always talking about adding recreation and park. Do you guys think that Rockdale County has enough parks? Do you think we have too many parks? My personal assessment has always been we've had too many parks. And Charlotte says, to me, the citizens' procedure to vote right after the second public hearing is not citizen friendly. Probably doesn't give you enough time for feedback and for people to gather their thoughts and put their opinions forward. So, but no, what do you guys think about the parks? Do we need any more parks? Tina, we do not. Cheryl, too many parks. Larry Cox, too many parks. And Tom says hot topics are not the issue in his opinion. It's quality. Plus, city projects might get a better view from a totally filled city panel. That's an interesting concept. Good, interesting. Mary Boysworth said too many parks. CJ, enough. The South River is still down. And they always read this, waive the second reading. So, we've still got the Lorraine Redhead, the Lorraine Head Park is, that's still shut down. I believe one over off of Oglesby is still shut. We've got some of these by the water parks, and then that disaster when they tried to put that canoe landing over here at the Lorraine Trailhead. that was a disaster. And and I think you guys might have seen me on here before predicting that one was going to be a disaster. Just with the design that they put in there, I knew that and we all see how high that water gets over there, right? And uh, how the speed of that water when it gets up over there, that uh, loading dock and bridge never had a chance over there. I mean, it's been demolished twice. I mean, there's no need to put that back over there. Really, there's not. And as often as that bowl gets flooded over there, and really was that a really good idea for a park? And we wasted a whole lot of money. And if we rebuild it, all we're going to do is it's going to be flooded again, washed out again, and destroyed again. Alex, too many that are used and cost us a fortune to maintain. 100%. It cost us a fortune to maintain these parks. And, the costly mill thing should be unloaded back to the private sector tomorrow. And that's one of those deals where would I give somebody a tax abatement to take over that? 100%. Because I think somebody told me, you know, Alex had did some numbers one time, and Bill just told me some numbers. Let's just say let's just say we go into red 50 to 100 grand a year for a costly meal or whatever, right? Whatever the numbers are, 50 to 100,000 a year or plus, right? And I believe that park alone, just that one, we unload it, give somebody a tax abatement for it, just us not having to spend the money maintaining it, plus what we go in the hole every year, it would be a big savings to the citizens of Rockdale County by not having to have the upkeep on costly meal. Someone, doing that, give them a tax abatement for a while, and then it goes back on the tax rolls. But as taxpayers, we start instantly saving money uh, if if we're able to do that. My thing shows me that I'm having audio. Everybody else, do I have sound? So William Campbell, is that 482,000 total in loss for all parks, or is that just? Could you identify where the 482,000 is, and is that a loss, or is that the cost to what identify And does everybody else hear me? Because Justin says he can't hear. Uh, Audio is fine. Justin, so you may be turned off. Good here. I have sound. Audio here. So yeah, Bill, I want to know where that identify that $482,000. The 482,000 needs to be identified, so we're talking apples to apples. Just costly meal. So that's what the budget for a costly meal is a year. 482,000, right at $500,000. So if we would give half a costly meal $500,000. I mean, sell a costly meal. Then we gave them a 10-year abatement. That means that's us saving $5 million over a 5-year time period, not having to finance costly meal. That is just crazy, right, guys? Um, and that's not counting other parks. I bet we could eliminate a bunch of other parks and save at least $1 million a year. Uh, uh, in savings by not having all these parks in the budget. So that's the way I look at it. I mean, I think we have to be smart at things. Johnson Park was 1.6 million, and that's 1.6 million that it costs to run it totally, Bill, or is that 1.6 million in the red? It's salaries just like it was when I pulled the numbers on our show, Alex says. So, I mean, I think that is just those numbers are just crazy, right, guys? The numbers are just crazy. Tina, most of the money for Costly Meal and Johnson was the salaries, just like Alex said, uh, in the red. So that was 482,000 in the red um, for Costly Meal and 1.6 million in the red for Johnson Park. So, you know, if that was a business, could you continually use? Could you actually keep that business open, operating at a loss year after year, year after year? And the answer would be no, you couldn't. But in government, we have uh, things that we do that lose money year after year after year, and we keep throwing your taxpayer dollars at it. Uh, it's just ridiculous. Mary Boysworth, especially now that it will be silver sneakers. She's talking about Johnson Park. So it'll be interesting to see how we handle that situation, right? So I mean, we've got to really be careful about what we're doing and how we're spending taxpayers' dollars. So I find it very interesting, right? Um, just absolutely crazy. So I saw the legislature pass some legislation where we're going to get some more refund money from the state. You guys see that? Uh, we're going to get some more refund rebate money from the state. So are you guys excited about getting a little more tax rebate money from the state? Uh, Tina, I'm gonna put your comment up there because I agree with that. I don't think all the citizens really know what we have for Parks and Rec. I don't think all the citizens really realize we have so many parks, and I don't believe they really are aware of the amenities at some of the parks. I don't really think a lot of people are aware of what you can do at Johnson Park, right? Um, and even though it is used, I think I would like to take an analysis of the 94, 95,000 people in Rockdale County. How many people are utilizing the parks? And then I think there's where we have to look at to see is this a good investment for our dollar? Do we get a good return? Do 94, 95,000 residents get a good return? Um, Corliss, that needs to go through committee and first read, second read, and all that first. My last time I looked at it, I don't think it was uh, when I last looked, it hadn't been assigned to committee yet. So it's got to go to committee, then and then has to have a first read and a second read and all that, in the House. So I think we'll have to track that bill, and best way to do it, just go on your legislative website and put in the SB 238, and you can track that bill's daily uh, the way it goes. But we just had crossover day. Was that Wednesday, Thursday, or whatever? And I don't think they've really had another legislative day since then. So I don't think it's probably moved since it did cross over to the House. So I think this coming week we'll probably see some action with it, with a committee assignment, out of the hopper, um, and then a first read. So we'll have to, see what that looks like. It needs to get its first read in the House first, but we'll see what goes on with that. So that'll be interesting with that legislation. Um, what else? What else are on your guys' minds tonight? Any questions you would like to ask? Anything you would like to mention or bring up? Anything at all? Bring it on. Let's bring it on. So Tina's got a comment. Is that in the House, Tom? That it's done a second read? I know it got read in the Senate, but I didn't know that it was. I'm going to actually just look it up real quick while we're on here. So it was a first read on the 3rd, a second read on the 4th. So it is ready for that, and then they've got to put it on the calendar. So it actually did move really quick after that. So we're it is rocking and rolling, right? That piece of legislation is rocking and rolling, and interesting. Charlotte Gellert. Let me see what Charlotte has to say here about something. The BOE had a finance committee prior to the last public hearing. They are already working on their, the Board of Education is working on a budget. That is actually accurate, Charlotte. Yeah, the Senate vote was 51 yes and 1 no. So that should get a vote, and we'll see what goes on with all the LSECJ. Very interesting. So yeah, we'll see about that. That piece of legislation will be on the ballot when it passes and the governor signs it. So I think they want to put that on the ballot in November, whenever the city elections are. So that'll be interesting, and we'll see who opposes that. So I mean, right now, I think you've got some people on the board of commission that don't want that legislation passed. So we'll see if they actually are going to campaign against it when it comes up, and we'll see. We'll see what goes on with that. That's going to be an interesting piece of legislation in the community. I think most everybody in the county wants 5 commissioners. I think the split is where this legislation is introduced at large. Most people would prefer districts. But then we do have our legislators say if we pass this piece of legislation, they will offer an amendment to the legislation next year to change it from at large to districts. So it was like, well, let's get it the 5 changed with the county manager, and then see if we can't introduce amending legislation later. So that's an interesting way to do it, but I think it's the way they had to do it with the way the politics broke down with our local delegation. Very interesting the way that worked out. So, guys, I am really going to keep this to a short night tonight. I have actually myself felt a little bit under the weather this weekend, and I've lasted for 30 minutes, and that's actually longer than I thought I was going to last. But I did want to come on here and give you guys the opportunity to voice your opinion on some things and that together. So just interested in all that. But so I appreciate it. If you guys would have want to talk about some more things next week, just send me a message on Facebook Messenger to the show. I'll add those things to the agenda, and we'll discuss them. But I'm going to go ahead and just cut the short show a little early tonight. Get off of here. Wish you guys good night, and I will see you next Sunday 8 p.m. Live on Speak Your Mind with Larry Cox. Thanks and good night.